In December 2010, a police officer named John Mallia was walking with his police dog along a stretch of beach on Long Island, New York. The area was called Gilgo Beach, a quiet, remote spot near the highway. Officer Mallia wasn't just out for training, he was looking for signs of a missing woman named Shannon Gilbert, who had vanished months earlier after calling 911 and saying someone was trying to kill her. Instead of finding Shannon, the officer found something else. About 500 feet from the road, in thick grass and brush, he saw a bundle wrapped in burlap. Inside were human bones. 2 days later, another body was found, then another. By the end of the week, 4 bodies had been found, all women, all wrapped the same way. The women were later identified as Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello. They were all in their 20s, all were small in size, and all had worked as escorts using websites to find clients. Each of them had gone missing between 2007 and 2010. They had disappeared from different cities, but their bodies were all found in the same place. Police believed the same person had killed all 4. This was no longer just a missing person case. It was now a serial killer investigation. Police began searching more of the area. Over the next few months, they found 6 more sets of remains near Gilgo Beach. Some of the remains had been there for years. Some were only body parts, legs, skulls, even a baby's remains. These victims were not all like the first 4. One was a man, one was a toddler. Some had been dismembered and buried in different places. This meant there may have been more than one killer, or the same killer had changed how he worked over time. It also meant this had likely been going on for at least a decade, but there was still no sign of the woman who started the search in the first place, Shannon Gilbert. A year after her disappearance, in December 2011, police finally found her remains in a marsh about half a mile from where she had last been seen. Her death was ruled accidental, but her family believed she had been murdered, just like the others. For years, police had no strong leads. Different police departments were involved, and they didn't always share information. There were even reports that some officers were covering things up. The chief of police at the time, James Burke, later went to prison for unrelated crimes and had refused help from the FBI during the investigation. The case stalled. Even though 11 bodies were found in total, possibly more, no one was arrested and no names were released. The killer was called the Long Island Serial Killer, or LISK. People had theories. Some thought it was a cop, others thought it was a truck driver, but the truth is, no one knew anything for sure. Years passed with no progress. In 2022, the new district attorney, Ray Tierney, formed a special task force to take another look at the case. They brought in state police and the FBI. This time, they looked at old evidence with fresh eyes, cell phone data, call records, and car information. And this time, they found something. They tracked phone records and found a pattern that matched a man in Massapequa Park, just 20 minutes from where the bodies were found. He was a father of 2, quiet, lived in the suburbs. He was also an architect who worked in Manhattan. His name was Rex Heuermann. By early 2022, the new task force investigating the Gilgo Beach murders was going through all the old evidence again. One clue stood out: phone records. Back in 2009 and 2010, the killer had used burner phones, cheap, prepaid phones, to contact some of the victims before they disappeared. These phones were used only to talk to the victims. After each woman vanished, the phone was turned off and never used again. But police noticed something else. The burner phones had connected to cell towers near 2 places: Midtown Manhattan, where someone worked, and Massapequa Park, where someone lived. So they looked for someone who had a routine that matched, someone who worked in Manhattan and lived in Massapequa Park during that time. Out of more than 300 people, one man stood out: Rex Heuermann. Who was Rex Heuermann? Rex was a licensed architect. He ran a small firm in New York City. He was married, had 2 kids, and lived in the same house he'd grown up in. From the outside, he seemed like a normal guy, quiet, hardworking, and boring. But the task force kept digging. They found that Rex owned a Chevy Avalanche, the same kind of truck witnesses said they had seen near one of the missing women's homes in 2010. They also looked at internet searches. Using warrants, they got access to his online activity. What they found was disturbing. Rex had searched for photos of the Gilgo victims, updates on the investigation, how police find bodies, torture and snuff films, how to stop DNA detection. He had also visited escort websites regularly. Even years after the murder stopped, he was still deeply involved in that world, but more carefully. It looked like whoever the killer was, he had stopped killing but never lost interest. DNA evidence police had saved some DNA from one of the crime scenes, specifically a hair found on one of the burlap bags. The hair was damaged and old, but with new technology, they were able to test it in 2023. The DNA didn't belong to the victims. It also didn't match Rex directly. So, police went to his garbage cans outside his home and collected items like used napkins and pizza crusts. They sent those in for testing. The result? The DNA from the pizza crust matched the hair on the burlap. That was the break they needed. 2023, Rex Heuermann was arrested outside his office in Manhattan. Police searched both his home in Massapequa Park and his office. What they found backed up their suspicions. In his home, police discovered a vault in the basement, more than 200 guns, some illegal boxes of disturbing materials, fake IDs, burners' phones, searches for his own name linked to the case. In his computer history, he had searched hundreds of times for updates about the Gilgo Beach case, almost like he was watching to see if police were getting close. As of now, Rex Heuermann has been charged with the murders of 3 women: Melissa Barthelemy, 2009, Megan Waterman, 2010, Amber Costello, 2010. He is also the main suspect in the murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, the 4th victim found in burlap. These 4 women, the Gilgo 4, were all found close together and killed in a similar way. That's what made investigators confident they were dealing with the same killer. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. But this might not be the end of the case. There are still other bodies found near Gilgo Beach that have not been linked to him yet, including a child, a man, and 2 other women who were killed differently. Police are still looking into whether Rex Heuermann had anything to do with those. After Rex Heuermann was arrested in July 2023, police searched every part of his life: his home, his office, his car, and his online activity. What they found painted a picture of a man living 2 very different lives. On the surface, Rex looked like a quiet, hard-working architect. He had owned his small business in Manhattan for years. He was married, had 2 children, and lived in the same house he grew up in. People who knew him described him as odd, maybe awkward, but not dangerous. But underneath that image was something darker. A secret digital world police looked through computers, phones, and hard drives found in his home and office. They uncovered hundreds of searches related to serial killers, sex workers, and torture. Some of these searches were very specific, even searching for photos of his own victims' bodies and their families. He looked up things like, why hasn't the Gilgo Beach killer been caught? How to find call girls on Long Island, how to get away with murder, how police trace phones. He also searched his own name along with the words Gilgo Beach over and over again, like he was tracking the case and watching for signs that police might be catching up to him.